In 2001, on a stretch of the Scottish Isles facing the Atlantic Ocean, archaeologists uncovered something that sounds less like history and more like a horror story. In South Uist, part of the Outer Hebrides, a chain of islands off Scotland's northwest coast, 2 human mummies were found beneath the packed earth floor of an ancient roundhouse, at a site known as Clad Hallan. At first, nothing seemed unusual with the discovery. The mummies were curled into crouched positions, the way many Bronze Age people were buried, almost like they were sleeping. Their flesh was still intact in some places, their bones in good condition, and for a time, researchers believed they'd found remarkably well-preserved individuals from around 1600 BC. But that changed when scientists began running tests. The results were strange, then confusing, and finally, undeniable. These were not whole people, they were assembled. The male body, for example, his torso came from one man, his skull and neck from another, and his jaw from someone else entirely. The female was even more jarring. Her remains included a woman's torso, a man's skull, and an arm from a third individual. But they aren't buried as a group, they were buried as one. It was a shocking discovery. Some called them Frankenstein mummies, not for sensationalism, but because there's no known precedent for anything quite like this. Not in Britain, not in the Bronze Age, not anywhere. So the question is why? To begin with, there's how they were preserved. The bodies had likely spent time in a peat bog, a cold, acidic, oxygen-poor environment that slows decay and can preserve soft tissue for centuries. It's the same process behind Europe's famous bog bodies, like the Tollen Man and Lindo Man. After their time in the bog, the pieces were removed, dried, and reassembled, carefully and deliberately. And then, they were buried beneath the floor of a home, which might be the most unsettling part of all. These patchwork dead were placed directly beneath the place where the living ate, slept, and carried out their daily lives. They weren't hidden far away in a graveyard. They were kept close. And that might be the clue to their meaning. Mummification in Bronze Age Britain was exceedingly rare. Most people were cremated or buried without any preservation. The idea of intentionally preserving, assembling, and then burying the dead beneath a home suggests a worldview that's profoundly different from our own. One where the boundaries between life and death weren't so fixed. Where the past wasn't left behind, it was invited to stay. So were these mummies sacred ancestors, reconstructed spirits, or something stranger? We don't know, and perhaps we never will.